how do you find an awesome off-grid camp way out in the boonies where you're likely to run into nobody? I'm going to show you guys how I used to do it during those 9 years that I lived on the road in remote places. Because my wife and I, we just developed a system. It worked really well. I had some takeaways from my time working in anti-assassination that I kind of applied, like things I learned about running details and stuff like that. And so I took it and I applied it to our off-grid travels. And what's great about this is that you don't have to use this just for picking a campsite that's like out in the boonies somewhere. This is also a great approach to take when it comes to finding good bug out spots. And this is exactly what I've applied to finding my own bug out spots. All right, dudes. I'm doing this video because my buddy over at Skookum Ranch on YouTube asked me this question. He said, regarding off-grid living, how do the logistics work? Bathing, washing clothes, cooking and refrigeration. Thanks, buddy. Stay safe. So I'm going to cover all that in a future video. It's basically going to be like a partner video to this one. But before you get all those details figured out about the things that you have to do every day to just make your life easy if you know how to get it done off grid or out in the boonies, first, I want to show you guys how to pick a good place to be. I feel like that's first and this other stuff is second. So I'm going to do a video about that in the future. And so guys, fasten your chin straps, man. I am going to burn through this video. I got the notes written down that I feel are the big things that you don't want to miss. The 80-20 of getting this done properly. And in the future, what I'll do is I'll actually go through and the steps that I cover here, I'll show you guys how the wife and I actually do it like in real time when we're going out to a place that we haven't been before. All right. So let's get right after it. The first thing you want to do is conduct a thorough remote reconnaissance of the area that you think you want to camp in. Probably the best tool that I found for this is Google Earth and Google Maps, really. So I get on Google Earth and I start looking at it, and you know how you can like tilt your view so you can see the terrain? It kind of gives you a feel for like how steep everything is, and if you've got southern exposure, northern exposure, all that kinds of stuff. And you can really zoom in on there, dudes. You can see like metal road barricades, and you can obviously tell if roads are like gravel or dirt or asphalt. You can get a good idea if they're improved roads or not, yada yada. You can see creeks, streams, ponds, stuff like that. And you can also zoom in and kind of pan around and you'll see like, oh, there is some structures in the trees there. So I use that. If you just use Google Maps and you click on the terrain button, everything's still flat. So it's just not as good in my opinion. But Google Maps as well, I use that to find the location of local emergency services, places where I can provision, stuff like that. When my wife and I were doing this on the road for 9 years, we had kids with us. And so we were always, wanting to know where local hospitals were or clinics, law enforcement, ranger stations, all that kinds of stuff. In addition to those two, we use TopoView, which gives you, access to free topographical maps. We use windy.com, and we would do this stuff in advance, guys. So like quite a ways in advance. It kind of depended. Sometimes maybe a couple of weeks in advance, other times a couple of months in advance. So I'd get on there regularly and check the wind patterns. So when I get out there, I kind of have some expectations as to what's the norm and what's not. We also use the weather site. And I would also check the yearly norms out there, because let's say I want to go camp in some spot for 3 months without reprovisioning. And it's nice when I leave, it's nice when I get there, but it's like totally just shitty 6 weeks later, you know what I mean? So I always check historical averages so I get a good idea of what I can expect while I'm out there. And dudes, we've done this for up to 4 months in one place without reprovisioning. Okay, so I'm talking out in hunting and fishing and doing it all, man, like putting meat on the table for the fam. All right. So that's part of what I think about when I look for these places. Something else that's important, water always makes things so much easier. I've camped for long periods of time in places where I don't have a local water source, and I'm either hauling it in regularly or I had to bring a shit ton in with me. It just makes things not as fun It's always better to be able to go sit in the creek on a hot day, do your dishes down there, bathe more regularly and all that kinds of stuff. So I certainly suggest having a camp near water if at all possible. The second thing that we do is we conduct our initial physical reconnaissance. So we actually drive our asses there. And the way we always divided up our fuel budget, dudes, was that a third of it was getting us into the area that we wanted to camp, because we might be driving across multiple states. And 2/3 of the rest of our fuel budget was us scouting the living hell out of that whole area. That's what we would do. We'd get out there and drive all the dirt roads in second gear, third gear sometimes, and just go check it all out, man. And you're going to burn up way more gas doing that. The MPGs goes way down. Anyways, what you want to do is relocate to an initial camp in that area, and it should be a place that's secure so that you can leave your rig there unattended. Kind of depends on what kind of rig you're rocking. If you've got a truck camper, you're not going to leave it anywhere, right? Just keep it on your truck while you do the recon. Just make sure you got a pole saw for any low-hanging branches and stuff like that. But if you got a travel trailer, you want to get into town, you want to drop it at a campground where other people are camped, book yourself like 4 days, 3 nights there, whatever, drop the trailer, and then during the day, you get out and drive the dirt roads, man. First, what you really want to do is drive the area around your initial camp there. Kind of get familiar with the town, where stuff's at and all that. What are the good places to provision? Talk to the locals, too. Talk to the locals, because they'll tell you, oh, this is a great grocery store over here, and this one's kind of pricey. They'll also tell you great places to camp. Like, they'll give you some really good ideas sometimes. A lot of people don't want to share that kind of information with people that aren't from there. But it's been my experience that I can ask people and they'll kind of give me this funny face, and I'll just look at them, just waiting for them to tell me the cool places to camp. And they almost always do. Almost always. So you're probably going to spend anywhere from 2, 3, 4 days driving around, even longer sometimes. Some places it's hard to find a good spot, man. There's just people all over the place, a lot of private land. And also, here's the other thing, guys. Do not be afraid to talk to a private landowner about camping out on their property. Don't be afraid to do that, man. Some people will let you do it for free. While driving around looking for camp spots, you're probably going to end up out of the vehicle walking roads here and there. It happens, especially if you don't have a chainsaw with you, or you're not sure you want to dedicate the time to cut some deadfall in the middle of the road to check it out. Like, just get out, walk down a ways, and decide if it's worth cleaning it up. You know what I mean? There could be an awesome campsite like 300 yards down that road, especially if you already did a good, thorough remote recon. And then you should know, right? You should know, here's where I'm at, man. Looks like there's a really good camp spot down this road a ways. There's some dirt road that pulls off to the right and goes like another approximately 400 yards. And there's a campsite on the water. At least that's how it looks, right? So don't be afraid to walk it, man. While you're doing this, pay attention. How much traffic is there on these dirt roads that you're on? Are they improved roads? Is there a lot of vehicles going by you while you're out there? Is the road just beat to death, man? Is it just totally washboarded out? All stuff to think about. Next, the wife and I would do our provisioning. And the provisioning amount is obviously dependent on your rig and how many people you got with you. We had kids, anywhere from 2 to 5 kids with us. And so, and various rigs that we did. So it really kind of depended on the situation. But personally, we focused on grains, pastas, herbs, salt, ghee, butter, oil, and frozen bacon. I know. Ask me in the comments down below if you're curious why frozen bacon. I could probably do a whole video on why we would pack our entire freezer full of frozen bacon. Our second priority with provisioning would be dried vegetables like mushrooms, sun-dried tomatoes, dried peppers. These things last for a really long time. And then, and they're also not heavy. Thirdly, we'd focus on canned goods because of the weight. This stuff's not dehydrated. It's got a lot of water in it, so it adds a lot of weight to your GVWR if you're packing a ton of canned goods. And you might have to bounce these around a little bit depending on your budget as well, dudes. You know, I wouldn't fault you if you went like rice and pastas and canned goods and kind of skipped on the more expensive dried vegetables like mushrooms, tomatoes, and peppers and stuff. Lastly, we'd focus on meats and dairy. This stuff doesn't last a long time, but when you get out there, you want to be eating well while you're finding out where the trails are. Remember, because you're going to be hunting, fishing, trapping, and doing all that kinds of stuff, man. So we'd get out there and pretty much just like mow through the friggin' store-bought proteins pretty rapidly. Dairy, of course, is going to last you a little bit longer. So the next step in the process after provisioning is to actually relocate to the camp that you think you want to be at. And you could have to move. You could get there and find out that this isn't where you want to be. But when you get there, what I suggest you do is make camp, but don't make it look like you're going to be there for a long period of time. Have a couple of chairs out and make yourself a fire pit. And that's about it, right? The first 72 hours that you spend in this camp is going to tell you a lot about the area. It's going to let you know if you got yahoos hauling ass through there on side-by-sides and dirt bikes all the time. That's one of the things I had to deal with. And the weekend really is when that's going to happen, right? That's going to happen like Saturday morning. All of a sudden, just all these freaking bikes going right by your rig. Well, you might want to move depending on how long you're going to be there. You want to deal with that shit every Saturday? No, because some of these guys are dicks. I mean, I think a lot of dirt bikers and people on side-by-sides, like, they'll haul ass by you. And they'll be like, hey, you know, like, they don't think they're being a dick. They're not putting it together that you're out there without a dirt bike and without a side-by-side to just have some peace and quiet and, like, enjoy nature and shit. I don't think they're thinking about that. So they're probably not intentionally being dicks. But sometimes they will, man. Sometimes they'll go around just like, you know, just, oh. But yeah, the first 72 hours and the first weekend's really going to tell you a lot. If you can avoid it, dudes, don't camp right on the road, too. Even if it seems like it's a pretty remote spot, always try and get off of it if you can. It'll save you a little bit of grief from that exact thing. The next thing you're going to do is conduct a thorough physical recon around your camp. Now, during the first 72 hours, you're going to limit this to roughly a mile from camp in all directions, or whatever directions you're interested in scouting out, okay? And the reason is because you don't know the area very well. If you hear a vehicle stop by your rig, which if you're a mile away, usually you're going to hear that. I mean, there would have to be a shit ton of trees and it'd have to be a pretty quiet vehicle pulling up for you not to hear it. But you want to be able to beat feet back there and catch anybody in the act if they're up to no good. For me, usually it's going to be 360 degrees that I cover. But let's say there's a highway like 2 miles in a certain direction. I usually won't spend my time scouting in that direction because if I'm going to run into people, that's where it's going to happen usually, is in between my camp and that highway. So I prefer to just like scout out the, you know, the spots in the other 180 degrees, if that's the case. While you're scouting, guys, you're looking for game trails and the sign of game in the area. Any tracks? Where are they watering? You have footprints near local streams, creeks, ponds. Are there any local ponds and places that waterfowl might hang out? Rabbit trails as well. Don't set snares yet, though, because in this first 72 hours, something could happen, and you're like, man, I need to get out of here quickly. And now you got a whole bunch of freaking snares set up that you're going to ditch. Where might the fish be? That's another thing to think about. You guys get the idea, right? This is how I did it anyways, because that initial meat and dairy and shit that I bought, man, it's going to go rapidly. And I'm not the dude that can live on freaking carbs all the time, man. I need to be killing shit and eating it. So the next step is going to be either to move camp or to make it a little bit more of a permanent camp. Did anything happen in those first 72 hours where you're just like, man, I don't want to deal with this? Or, ooh, there's some kind of shady people around here. Or you were walking in a half mile up the dirt road that you took to get where you're at. There's some shady ass camp with some shady ass people in it. Because I've had that happen too, man. I've been like, you know, sometimes they're too close for comfort. Like, I'm out of there. If you don't have any issue, though, man, it's yours. Make it more of a permanent camp. Like, dig yourself a slit trench. And here's where you're going to start finding out, like, where and when are the fish biting? When are the quail out? Like sometimes if there's a lot of quail in an area, they'll come through a certain area at the same time every day, man. Is there a spot like 60 yards from your camp where the quail walk through every morning? What are the temps like? Can you hunt larger game? A lot of the time when I was on the road, guys, I was mostly focused on stuff geese size and smaller because we could process it up and it would be gone lickety split, especially feeding all those kids. And so for me, lots and lots of small game hunting, small furry things and small things with feathers was where I spent the huge majority of my time hunting while on the road. But if you're in a cooler place and you're going to be there for a long time, you can always take advantage of larger game. Cook on a fire when possible out there. That's something else I always did. Your propane in your truck camper or travel trailer, whatever it is just going to go longer that way. Not to mention, it's like that's part of the vibe, right, man? That's like part of the reason you're out there is to get out there and go catch fish in the morning for breakfast and put them on a hot cast iron pan on a fire. Additional bedding, extra clothing, and heavy curtains will also reduce your propane use while you're out there. I probably should get into this stuff in the next video. So I think I'm done right there. The very last thing that I would suggest you do is just kind of direct your focus using the 80-20 rule, right? 20% of what we do produces 80% of the results. So wherever it is you're getting wins out there, hit that more. If you found a place where the fish are biting at the same time every day and eating the same shit every day, and it's easy for you to find crickets or whatever bait it is you're using, worms, you know, boom, I would just keep hitting the fishing hard while you're there. And what you'll find is that you'll get that so down. You know, you'll take that 30-minute walk to that body of water in the morning. You'll fish for an hour. You'll hike back the 30 minutes. And that's 2 hours out of your day. And you know you got plenty of food for like the next 2 days. So now what are you going to do, man? Now you're going to focus on the places where you haven't had some successes. Maybe the stuff that you're not as good at. Like maybe you're a great small game hunter, but you suck at hunting waterfowl and using non-traditional methods to get it done. Well, now's your chance, man. You know, if you can take the squirrels and you have no problem with it, or you're good at, let's say you're good at snaring rabbits, right? If you could snare rabbits every single day, man, it frees up time to focus on other things and to get better elsewhere. That's it, dudes. I think I'm going to wrap the video right there. I hope you guys found some value in that. Make sure you like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I got so much experience doing this shit, dudes. And me and the wife, we're going to get back after it in 3 more years. I already got plans. I'm already like, you know, making sure I got the firearms I want to bring with me. I'm kind of adjusting my kit a bit and all that. Like I am chomping at the bit, dudes, but I'm going to do not only videos of us doing it. This channel is going to be filled with that in the future, but all the tips and tricks and more detailed breakdowns of these things. So if you want to see that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out my Patreon link in the description. Guys, I've got probably 50 hours, no, probably like 40 hours of info dumps on there. Additional video content you can only get there, and you can help support the channel for $5 a month, which would be awesome. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, man. I hope you guys are still working on your preps and getting ready for this big camping season that's coming up right now. I'll see you guys in the next video.